Hey guys, welcome to the first video of uNature. uNature is the asset I've been working on for the past few months, and if you don't know, uNature does two things at the moment. It does interactable trees with also adding kind of integrations to networking platforms such as Unity Networking, um, both for the cloud and Forge. And while also doing that, it also keeps it very generic, and you can literally do any kind of interaction you want with it. And then you have the grass, which is kind of the more popular aspect at the moment, and it's a lot different than Unity's grass. It kind of, instead of doing all the calculations on the CPU, it does everything on the GPU. So if you ever used Unity grass, you know that every time you move a certain distance, there's gonna be a big spike of Unity that's going to regenerate patches. Now uNature doesn't have that, and it also has touch bending and a very generic interactions approach. It also has instant modifications, so you can actually modify anything on uNature. It's gonna be instant, and just so much more. So I'm gonna go over that in a second. And yeah, let's start. So first of all, when you import uNature, the first thing you want to do is, and really the main thing I'm gonna be working with uNature is in the window here. You want to go to uNature and into foliage. Now this little window will open up, and the best thing I recommend to do is to put it next to the inspector, because this window requires a lot of space, and it's gonna really help it when it gets a lot of space. So let's open it up, and now as you can see, there's gonna be this little thing in here. Now it might look like a very complicated window at first, but it really isn't. The UI is very interactive, and you can literally do anything you want very simply, and not really taking your time and learn the UI. It's literally just straightforward. So let's start. Okay, so we're gonna first of all create a simple terrain, and just like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a grass prototype to it. So normally you're just gonna add a prototype simply like that. Now please note that you don't have to use Unity terrain for Unity to work. It works literally on any platform as long as it has colliders, and you can also make it work with your own physics system. It literally just changes one line. It's that simple. So I'm gonna get this grass over here, which is the one that is used on the scene, on the example scene. And I'm gonna disable billboard. I'm just gonna paint a bit on the terrain, as you can see. Now, as you remember earlier in the video, I said there's a big issue with Unity at the moment, that if you go into the grass patches with the high speed, it's gonna really spike and have a huge impact on performance. So let me just show you that real quick. As you can see, it's small, but if I go over with really high speed, or actually no, if I add more grass to it, so kind of like, if you notice that right now, it's literally little spikes right there. I'm gonna add a lot more grass right there. It's gonna fill it up, and you can see that it's a lot more noticeable. And this is just a simple example. It's a lot more noticeable in the game where there isn't just grass, and any kind of performance spike is noticeable. So we have this right here, and you can go with the first integration of uNature, which is just going over here, uNature helpers, copy foliage, and it's going to generate you the chunk, and boom, uNature is implemented. Give it a second. There you go. Simple as that. Obviously uNature is a bit more drawing distance, so it drew more than Unity did. Now as you can see, it looks pretty similar, and this method right there is a fast one. Just literally just do that and you're set. But it has some disadvantages, and it doesn't use uNature completely, because if I go ahead and remove this from here and create it again, I'm gonna show you the other approach, which will also work, allow it to work with trees. So go over here, and you wanna add the uNterrain component. There you go. Now I'm gonna throw the grass again. Okay, like that. Everywhere on the terrain, and I'm going to, don't worry about the settings right now, they don't matter. I'm just gonna show you the grass mechanics. And if I hit copy footage from here, not from the helper, I'm gonna see that it's also gonna ask me if I want to create a backup. Now this is very important, because some games don't work very well with uNature in the first installation. You have to modify some stuff. So if the grass gets screwed, you don't have to regenerate everything again. You could just apply the backup. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, generate. As you can see, grass is here again. Okay, so let's say it didn't come out as I expected and it just looks a lot worse. I'm gonna delete this right here, or I don't even have to delete it. Just literally just go over here to the footage and then apply backup, and there you go. It's back. Simple as that. Okay, so it works. What now? What you want to do next is you actually want to, let's copy footage again on this time, and I'm going to go over the footage manager itself. So if I hit copy footage, now you notice that if you go up real quick, you're going to notice that you have these black squares over here. Now each black square is called a chunk. uNature has kind of almost infinite chunks, and you can literally paint anywhere on the world. So if I want to paint, just go over to the window. If I want to paint, let's say over here, there's no surface, there's nothing, just blank place, and I want to paint, click, it's going to generate that chunk and populate it for me, and there you go. If I go closer, you can paint on it as much as you want. Now, the cool thing about uNature, if I go back to the terrain, there are many assets that make you regenerate the heights every time you modify the terrain. So for instance, if I increase the height, just go over here, of the terrain, some assets would make me, oops, just disable the brush. Some assets would actually make me regenerate the height, but uNature is a lot more special. If you change the height, it automatically adapts to it. So it's a very cool feature right here, and don't have to do anything. It recalculates the normals, everything. So it's a pretty cool thing. So next up, what I want to show you is going to be some explanation about the settings. So as you can see, if you notice so far, you have those warnings over here. Every time you change the heights or the grass, you have to make sure you save it, because if not, and if the game crashes, if the Unity crashes, they might not save your changes. So uNature actually implements a way for you to force the save before the game exits. So let's see, Unity, if you change something in the game and Unity crashes, it's gonna disappear forever. But in our case, you can save it and it's gonna save forever. Okay, so even if Unity crashes right now, this is gonna save. So it's kind of a more safe way of editing. It's gonna save anyway though, but you know, if it's gonna crash, then whatever. Now the next thing is, if you click on one of the prototypes, instead of going into terrain, for instance, and editing like this, you actually have a nice window of editing, and you can edit the spread, you can edit the radius, you can also edit the width, the height, rendering layer, some really cool stuff that you probably can't do with Unity. For instance, the rendering layer, the cast shadows, even color map. If I just show you right here, it's gonna, oops, not this one. It's gonna go gray because there's no colors on the terrain at the moment. It's just white, but it reaches the surface, the color of the surface. So it's pretty cool. And then you have some other stuff like the density. So you can generate actually less density and make the system even faster. This is actually documented in the documentation, and yeah, I know I say a lot of literally, sorry for that. And next up is touch bending. Now touch bending is not expensive, but if you use an insane amount of grass, it might have kind of an impact on performance. So you can also disable it if you want, or you can choose strength and stuff like that. Next up is wind. Now the cool thing about uNature is that on Unity, like in uNature, you can set global wind settings just like that. But if you want to have a certain prototype that has different settings, you can also set this in here. So you can use this, and you can do your own settings for that specific prototype, and it won't be affected from the global settings. Next up, you have the LODs, which you probably noticed by far. If you get closer, it just gets automatically updated. Then you have the health and dry color, and then you have the global settings. So I'm not gonna go over that more, because it's all of it is just documented in the tutorial, in the documentation. So I feel like it's gonna be a waste of time. So I'm gonna go over to the trees aspect right now. So obviously this is not all of uNature. Actually, let me show you one more thing. If you go over to play mode right now, and you are going to try to preview the grass, as you can see it here. But if I go over to play mode, you're not gonna be able to see the grass. That's because uNature tries to keep everything optimized by making only cameras or only objects that have feature right now. I'm gonna create empty objects just to demonstrate. And I need to add the UNC component. So I'm gonna only add this right here. And you see it automatically detects the camera. But if you have the camera outside over here, you will have to automatically attach it. Okay, so if I go over to run mode right now, there you go. So it's very simple. It's not very complicated. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you, probably the last one on the grass aspect, is these buttons over here. So when uNature creates or gets, when you add a prototype to uNature, it's not going to use the material you used before that. So if you add a mesh, it's not going to use the material of the mesh, and it's going to, or the prefab, it's going to create a new material instance that has that mesh, but it's kind of a cloned instance of it. So if I click on L, it's going to get me to that prototype, to that material, sorry. And I can customize it, change the shader, whatever I want to do. Obviously, if the shader is not compatible, it's not going to show anything, just like that. Okay, so next up is, I'm going to show you the R button, which is basically just going to clear all of the density from the terrain, just like that. And oops, I created a new instance. So this can go on forever. You can literally put anywhere on the map, as I said. And yeah, I know I set up literally. So next one is the minus right here, which it's kind of obvious. It's just going to remove the prototype. There you go. The cool thing about uNature is that when you remove a prototype, it's going to remove all of the. Guys, I'm back. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you have more than one prototype. So in this case, we have 2 prototypes. And please note that you can also use grass meshes. There's nothing that really makes it not usable. You only need to change the shader and that's it. Okay, so let's choose those 2. And one cool thing about uNature is that you can actually multiple choose the prototypes. Okay, and another cool feature is that if I choose this one right here, I paint a bit. There you go. You can see it's pretty cool right here. There you go. And one cool feature about this is that I can paint 2 objects together. So if I go close, you can always see that. And one cool thing as well, yeah, a lot of cool things, but one of the cool things that you can do with uNature when it comes to the painting is that if you click shift and try to paint with uNature, with Unity, it's actually going to make it so it's going to disappear all of the prototypes in this area completely. But in this case, it's actually going to reduce this to the amount you have here. So it's going to go a lot lower, and it doesn't have to be 0. Okay, as you notice probably, it only changes the prototype you selected. So if I select that one as well, it also works on this one. Now, another cool thing here is that if I go ahead and I select this one right here, no matter what the density is here, if I click shift, it's going to disappear all of the selected prototypes. Okay, this is kind of an approach that is similar to Unity, but it also just works out at the end of the day. Okay, so save it again, and that's it. Now you can delete them together, or do whatever you want, and that's it for the grass aspect of uNature. I'm also going to make a tutorial, obviously, of the terrain aspect, but this one kind of settles the grass aspect of uNature pretty well. Now, there's a lot more things that I didn't show in this video as well, like how to implement your own shader, more scenarios like attach bending, interactions, extending the system, just so much more that uNature has. But I leave it to you guys to find out. There's a big documentation that's gonna cover that. Also, some big amount of tutorials that I'm putting out that's hopefully going to cover everything in the system. But this was kind of the basics and how to get it to work with your project pretty easily without a lot of headache and stuff like that. As you've seen, probably the UI is very innovative. There's no lot of stuff you can go wrong with. So that's pretty much it for the first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, that's it.